HBL Hair Care, healthy ingredients for healthy hair. Enhance health, reveal natural beauty, and give new life to your hair. Experience the holistic difference of HBL Hair Care.
This program was brought to you by Waste Management of North County and Oceanside. We're dedicated to serving customers and communities as a safe, comprehensive service provider, a good corporate citizen, and a responsible environmental steward. Think green, think Waste Management.
Welcome to this month's edition of Journalist Roundtable. I'm your host and moderator, Kent Davey. I'm joined by fellow journalists Allison St. John of KPBS and Logan Jenkins of the San Diego Union Tribune. Our first guest in tonight's show is an opponent to the Lilac Hills Ranch development near Escondido. Mark Jackson is a resident near the proposed housing development and will share his viewpoint and a video. Our second guest is Max Disposti, Executive Director of the North County LGBTQ Resource Center in Oceanside. Their building was recently damaged by vandals and it was deemed a hate crime by the police. In light of the tragedy in Orlando, we've asked Max to discuss the progress and peril facing the LGBTQ community. Our third guest is Linda Culp, Principal Planner for SANDAG. She'll discuss the planned expansion and improvement of the Oceanside Transit Center, North County's busy mass transportation hub. Our fourth guest, Pastor Steve Bassett, is our last guest. He operates the Bread of Life Rescue Mission in Oceanside. The nonprofit was formed in 1999 and serves the poor, hungry, and homeless in 6 North County cities. Pastor Bassett will give a first-hand perspective of their services, his organization, and its future plans. Let's get started. In our May Journalist Roundtable program, we had as our guest Randy Goodson, the developer of the proposed Lilac Hills Ranch. To present the opposing side, we have invited Mark Jackson. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
So why are you opposed to this development?
Well, as you will see in the video, it doesn't provide the affordable housing that the developer has promised, and it's pushing the cost of infrastructure, the roads, fire service, and other things to the general taxpayer. The video will segue into that and explain that.
Okay, let's go to that video.
The Hills of Valley Center are home to avocado groves, farms, and country living. Country roads traverse the landscape. It is alarming that with disregard for public safety and well-being, plans are afoot to change the general plan and destroy the community character of the area. Accretive Development has been unsuccessful in getting the Board of Supervisors to approve their Lilac Hills Ranch project. Having exhausted proper procedures, they are now resorting to a ballot initiative, a tactic that the mayor of Beverly Hills labels California's initiative loophole scam. Accretive is providing misleading information to obtain signatures from the very taxpayers who would be paying tens of millions of dollars for infrastructure should this project go through. The developer conveniently omits that fact, as well as the fact that it represents hedge fund investors whose only intention is to maximize their profit by flipping the project to out-of-state investors. Accretive Development is proposing the addition of 1,746 units, a 200-bed senior care center, and 90,000 square feet of commercial development to the 608 acres of rural land, more than 16 times the general planned density. The traffic nightmare that would be caused by this project cannot be overstated. On an annual basis, there would be an additional 7 million auto trips. This represents 15 times the traffic projected in the general plan for 2030. Existing roads, which are narrow and winding, cannot support the increase in traffic. The developer is not proposing to build any new roads, nor are they adding any new travel lanes to safely accommodate the increased traffic load. They are not planning on improving the West Lilac Bridge over the I-15 to accommodate the increased flow. The project will add no additional capacity to the existing single-lane West Lilac and Circle R public roads. As you can see, these roads are not compliant with current public road design standards for curves and have extremely limited evacuation capacity. The menace to public safety is further illustrated when one considers what would occur during a fire, a likely eventuality in this fire-prone area. The additional population would make it impossible for the Deer Springs Fire Protection District to respond within 5 minutes, the guideline for emergency fire and medical services. There is no revenue to fund an additional fire station. Evacuating the area is a difficult process, and simultaneous with the evacuation, fire suppression assets must be brought into the area. This further strains the limited routes that are available. With only one way out east and one way out west from this new development, it would be impossible to vacate the area in times of emergency. Who in good conscience could advocate a project of this density without requiring additional roads and infrastructure? This project drops an urban island into a rural area 17 miles one way from the closest SANDAG employment center and at least 10 miles from Valley Center schools. SANDAG has commented that the project is not located in a smart growth area and has no public transit. Further, the developer deliberately refuses to commit to providing affordable housing, although in their quest for a ballot initiative, they claim that this is one of their main goals. Accretive Development has fabricated a housing crisis in the Bonzil and Valley Center area and then refuses to provide the units that would solve this fictitious crisis. In the world of the developer and its hedge fund investors, this is a perfect storm, having their cake and eating it too. Accretive Development has spent over 6 years and many millions of dollars to convince the public and our elected officials that the Lilac Hills project would benefit the community. Despite their deep pockets, they have illustrated exactly the opposite. Violating the general plan, degrading the character of the area, jeopardizing public safety, all of these inevitable consequences highlight the fact that the only benefit to be derived from a project of this nature would be to the deep pockets of the developer.
Thank you for that interesting video, Mark. Logan, you want to start off our questions?
Sure, Mark. The video is well produced. There's some really scary numbers there. But tell me, why does the county bureaucracy in general favor this project? Why have they supported it?
Well, I don't think that they do support it. The Planning Commission has narrowly approved it, and it's never gotten to...
And county staff has recommended for it, haven't they?
With conditions. This ballot initiative that's before the voters now to decide has eliminated nearly all of the conditions that the county staff and the Planning Commission placed on the development to provide fire service, to provide schools, to improve roads, both on-site and off-site. They've been eliminated.
So do you consider that a key point for voters, if it does go to the ballot, for voters to keep in mind that the county bureaucracy favored another project?
Absolutely. And the fiscal impacts is particularly, those costs are going to shift to taxpayers. People in the fire district for fire services, general taxpayers in the county for improving the local roads to get them up to bare minimum safety standards.
Okay.
I think a lot of people might decide to vote for it if it gets on the ballot because they think we need more housing to bring down the cost of housing in the county, right? So, if you're to consider that maybe the backcountry has to take its share of housing, how would you argue that it shouldn't be there in the backcountry?
Valley Center itself, in the general plan, the next 20 years is programmed to double in areas that actually are affordable, that affordable housing where you don't need the grading, where the infrastructure's there, in the downtown center of Valley Center. It's been planned in 2 villages, and that's more than a fair share, and it has a chance, if there's not competing interests like this, to develop affordable housing. This development is only affordable if it can shift its infrastructure costs to other taxpayers.
So I guess that's one question, is why would the developer choose to build it there where it wasn't supposed to be in the general plan rather than where the infrastructure is?
Margin, profit margin. If you can shift basically what he's done, the market value of an acre that you can build 3 homes, the density that he's proposing is probably worth on the order of $500,000. You can buy distressed agricultural land, as they have, for $50,000. And if you can put a minimum of infrastructure in there, it's very happy times and a nice profit margin. If you have to pay for the infrastructure to make it safe for the community, you're not in the very good return situation. And that's sort of what the initiative is running into. They need to do these deceptive practices to shift the infrastructure costs to the rest of the general taxpayers.
But not all the infrastructure costs are being shifted out, are they?
The cost of local roads, local public roads, yes. Fire service, they're attempting to. And sewer, that's to be determined since the details haven't worked out, but I think that it's only economically successful if they're able to do that.
You know, Goodson referred to a kind of a small activist, group of NIMBYs essentially who are opposing this. How do you gauge the opposition or support in Valley Center?
It's not Valley Center.
Or Bonsall, or
It's the county of San Diego.
Okay.
I've had people call me that were at Bernie Sanders rallies and say, these guys are lying to get signatures. I signed it. How do I stop my signature? And the deception, they're enraged. They're on social media. A lot of millennials are very, they understand the need for affordable housing, but the deception involved in promising something that won't be delivered and there's no assurance of delivery is really got some people enraged.
The state, can you tell us about the state of the signatures? We know they went to the register of voters about a month ago or so. When are they supposed to be evaluated one way or the other?
The county has until the 15th of July to see if it qualifies to go on the November ballot.
Once they say, yes, there are 68,000 signatures, so it's okay to go forward, does the county board then have to have a decision to make? And what would that decision
They have one or two decisions. They can put it on the November ballot or they can approve it immediately.
And actually, of course, one of the supervisors is up for re-election in November. Dave Roberts, who we've had on the show here, is up against the mayor of Escondido, Kristen Gaspar. Could that make a difference?
Encinitas, yeah.
Mayor Encinitas,
Yeah.
yeah. Could that make a difference to what the county decides, do you think?
I don't think that that'll particularly be in play. I think Dave will vote as he sees fit and vote his heart.
And one supervisor won't be involved at all.
That's correct. Only 4 will vote.
And that would be Bill Horn being stepped out because of fair practices issues.
Correct.
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of people, I think, are comparing this with what happened in Carlsbad, where a developer was defeated by the citizens of Carlsbad. But I think there are some major differences in your case, in the sense that with Carlsbad, they had a small population of people that they really managed to educate very well and activate. In your case, you're facing the whole county, educating the whole county. What do you think your chances are of getting your message across to the whole county that this development should not be put right there?
The election results will tell, but all those people in Carlsbad, they know which way to vote.
Would you say you've got some support in Carlsbad?
I would say that yes. Yes, I have
But
a
is
lot
the
of
bigger
support.
question, do you have the support in Chula Vista?
Yes.
Or National City?
Everybody in Chula Vista and National City should know that if this project's allowed to be built in the location that it is, the same risk via this process, this flawed loophole in the system via ballot initiative, they can get a disco in a quiet residential neighborhood or anything, any land use, anywhere in the county.
The process meaning going to an initiative in order to sidestep CEQA.
Correct. Correct.
I think this is really important because, I mean, we feel like these initiative, the process is democracy in action. You know, take it directly to the votors. You know, don't let the Board of Supervisors vote, take it to the voters. Why would you argue it's not really democracy in action?
I think there's a lot of things that aren't required to be disclosed that can be, as has happened here, can be deceptive without, full disclosure and fiscal impacts.
There's 600 pages, right, this initiative?
Yes.
No one's going to read all that.
Correct.
But what is in there that you think perhaps voters should be more aware of?
The fiscal impacts to the general taxpayer for roads, schools, fire. Who's going to pay for that, the shortcomings? It's not safe. 10-minute fire response time in this area is crazy. It takes 2 hours to evacuate, and a fire burns through in 1 hour. And that's all on the developers, way in the details of the developer's 600 pages. That's there.
Would you agree with the premise that that the supervisors in this rare case should step up and help educate the public about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got just about a minute left. Is there a way that you see that this proposal can be attacked through litigation?
Well, I'd rather not have that. You know, I'd rather have the people get the information. And by the way, thank you for providing the opportunity for the information to be there. And that's what I don't think anybody, given the truth surrounding the development, could possibly vote for it.
Well, thank you very much, Mark Jackson, for illuminating your side of this very important issue for us. As a reminder, in May we had the developer of Lilac Hills Ranch, Randy Goodson, as our guest. If you'd like to watch that show or this one, go to koct.org, video on demand. Click on the Journalist Roundtable episode you'd like to watch. You can watch both sides of this issue or any Journalist Roundtable on your smartphone, tablet, or computer. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll meet Max Disposti, the Executive Director of the North County LGBTQ Resource Center in Oceanside. Thank you, Mark.
I'm wanted.
I'm wanted.
I'm wanted.
I'm wanted.
Volunteers wanted.
There's a place for everyone.
Nobody can do everything.
But everyone can do something.
Your experiences and expertise can help to advise the council on various matters.
Whatever your interests are,
There is a place.
There is a place.
There is a place.
There's a place for you.
Apply today for one of the city's committees, board or commissions.
Whatever your interests are, there is a place for you.
for more information and applications, call the City Clerk Department at 760-435-3000 or visit the city's website.
Volunteers.
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 Volunteers are the heart of the community.
Here's your sandwich, miss.
Oh, thank you.
And your burger.
Awesome, thank you.
And your bowl of boiling water, sir.
Founded in 1877, the American Humane Association has been dedicated to the idea that all animals, including those raised on our farms and ranches, are entitled to humane treatment. Today, animals on nearly 8,000 farms enjoy a better quality of life because of the ethical, science-based standards established by the American Humane Association. Live better, be humane. Choose American Humane Certified products.
Hello, my name is Amber Tervroot, and you're watching KOCT, your community channels. I'm a friend of KOCT. You should be too.
Welcome back to Journalist Roundtable. Our next guest is Max Disposti. Max, earlier this year, before the tragic shooting at the gay nightclub in Orlando, your community, your North County LGBTQ Resource Center was vandalized. Police deemed it a hate crime. Was this the first time that your center has had this kind of problem? Have there been other incidents?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. This is actually the first time it occurred in Oceanside to be a target of a hate crime at the center. I will say that in the past 5 years we've been there. Oceanside and North County has been very supportive, and we've been very visible. So that was definitely a surprise at the moment.
Can you tell us what happened?
One morning we showed up at the center. We find the whole front side of the center vandalized. The windows were shattered, rocks were thrown in it, but nothing was stolen. There were actually computers, no money because we don't have any, but actually all the tools that we're using for everyday services were untouched. Okay. So it was just an intent to intimidate the community. And if I might add, sometimes people don't understand that because we also work with kids, we have a lot of parents that drop their kids in the afternoon. There is a lot of activities at the center. We serve a lot of people, and even though it's just a rock against the window, the idea was really to create a sense of fear of not being safe.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I got this wrong, but was this before or after the pulse?
Actually, 3 weeks before what has occurred in Orlando, yeah.
And did anyone find out who might have done it?
The police is still investigating. As you know, when they classify an act like that as a hate crime, there is procedures they had to follow. So we are definitely working with the police at Oceanside to see if they come up with something. At the moment, not that I'm aware of. So.
But the good news is that you're moving to a new facility, which I don't know, is it larger? Is it better?
Yeah.
What is the...
There are a lot of good news. First of all, the community support. In situations like that, we had an incredible community support. People stopped by the center donating, and sharing hugs, and supporting our families and friends that come at the center. So we were very pleased to see that, and it's not the first time that has occurred here in Oceanside and our county. Even when we lost our youth to suicide a couple of years ago and last year as well, the community really reacted really strongly. But the good news is that we're moving into a new center because our services are growing, and we were able to, thanks to the support of the City of Oceanside and CDBG funding from the federal government, we're able to move into a location where right now it's under construction, and we're hoping that next week we're actually officially serving again our community.
And tell our viewers where that is.
It's on 3220 Mission Avenue, Oceanside, very close to Brother Benno's and other nonprofit organizations. So,
okay. When the terrible shooting in Orlando happened, can you describe what happened at your center and how people reacted?
I think we all obviously were very shocked. At the same time, throughout the day and the days that followed the event, we grew also angry because I think there is a tendency when things like that happen to try to look elsewhere, to blame someone else from some other worlds or cultures. And what we are aware of is that our LGBT community has been targeted throughout the years. It's an historical persecution that we've been witnessing and experiences on our own skin. And we're not new to this kind of tragedies, unfortunately, even though this was different, was unpredicted, and with all the characterizations that have been given, but we're not new to it. And actually, it gave us the opportunity to bring to the people attention, the conversation, the fact that every day we have people that actually die under criminalizations of LGBT. So it happens for a lot of transgender people in our community, especially people of color throughout the United States, that they are dying because of lack of understanding or hate. So this is part of the community that we're living in. It's not just something that's coming. We don't have to go to the Middle East to find extremism. We have it here in our own country as history shared with us, and so we are not new to it. So we wanted to make sure our response was a response of unity and not try to find a target within our own community and trying to see who to criminalize for an act, like a terrorist act like this. So the community was definitely very positive, very understanding.
Max, I'd like to ask you sort of a cultural question. I talked to a gay gentleman recently who said that when he was growing up, the safe place that he would go to would be a gay bar. That's where he could be himself or learn about himself. And it seems to me your center has somewhat taken over that. That's another safe place.
Correct.
But are gay bars still? Do they still exist?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that still a place where?
Yeah, and I think even what happened in Orlando, the conversation was sharing with the rest of the world the fact that some of these spaces are still a safe space, because let's not forget that besides and despite few states where we have reached equality, there is a profound disparity throughout the United States where a lot of people that are LGBT, now they can get married in Florida, but they can be fired the day after for being LGBT. So we don't have any federal law that protects LGBT people besides marriage and hate crime. So we have a lot of disparities nationwide, and I invite everyone also to look into the William Institute from UCLA that actually is mapping the LGBT community nationwide, is matching the poorest community in the United States. So we're trying to share with the folks that LGBT people are not those wealthy folks that live in West Hollywood. Some of us do, but the majority of us live in the poorest conditions, and they are the most marginalized groups within within the nation. So yes, places as a bar or as an LGBT center are still a place where people can go and feel safe and not feel judged by others because of who they are.
The Pew Research Center did study, one of the things it studies is religion, and I noticed in its last survey that the percentage of American Muslims who do not approve of gay marriage is equivalent to the percentage of evangelical Christians who do not approve of gay marriage. Do you know if the LGBTQ community has made any outreaches to the Muslim community?
Well, first of all, LGBT people are also Muslims and Jewish
Right.
and Christians and atheists. I know that our candlelight event in response to Orlando in Oceanside, we had the local Muslim community coming in support and expressing their solidarity. We have great relationships with them. I think it's important, the role of the press in this conversation and not creating the them and us at the same time. We are LGBT, we are Muslims, we are Christians, we are everyone. I think we need to really bring the attention to the fact that for years and years we have been targeted by different religious institutions. Doesn't mean that people of faith, because they identify with certain religions, are automatically against us. So statistics, they try to understand where the Muslim community is. I personally don't trust them too much because I don't understand what the intent is other than divide the community in terms of, are Christian people more supportive than others? As you know, last year we witnessed an incredible tragic attack to the African American community by a Christian extremist into a church. Self-proclaiming himself as a Jesus Christ and Savior. And so it could come from anywhere. I think we can't control that. What we can control is the response of our community and how empowered we are to understand the unity, solidarity, and kindness and human understanding of all our diversity as a potential of possibilities and not as a divisive intent to differentiate different cultures.
As you look at our Oceanside or our Tri-City community, are we a inclusive tolerance community?
I think definitely we have done incredible progress in the past 10 years. It hasn't happened just like that. There's been a lot of people in our community, many communities, including the Muslim community, the Jewish community, the Christian community, working together to make sure that there is a more inclusive North County. However, personally, I believe the conversation has just started. We need schools taking more leadership on that conversation when it comes to LGBT and the intersectionality between being a person of color and LGBT, for instance, or a transgender individual and a person of color at the same time. So those conversations have just started. We need, in California, that we have full access under the law. We still have a lot of disparities, and there is a lot of ignorance on the merit of LGBT and our diversities as a community.
Thank you very much, Max, for appearing tonight on Journalist Roundtable. When we come back from this break, we'll have a new topic, major changes to the busiest, or one of the busiest, transportation hubs in all of Southern California. Stay with us.
Have a direct impact on your government. Voice your opinion on issues that affect your community. Stand up for what you believe in. On your way to work or returning from the waves, cruising by or exercising, between classes or having your morning coffee, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Come, vote as you are.
Thank you.
The City of Oceanside recently unveiled the My Oceanside City app, a free application which allows citizens to report issues and request services via their mobile device. My Oceanside City app also allows you to submit photos as you discover issues like potholes, graffiti, or litter, and submit them 24 hours a day. The issue will be immediately routed to the correct administrator in the appropriate department. Requests will be responded to quickly and efficiently, and you will be notified the instant it is resolved. The My Oceanside City app can be downloaded for free to your smartphone via iTunes or Android Marketplace. For more information, please visit the city's website at ci.oceanside.ca.us.
Welcome back to Journalist Roundtable. Our next guest is Linda Culp, Principal Planner for SANDAG. She's here to discuss the planned expansion and improvement of the Oceanside Transit Center, North County's busiest mass transportation hub. Linda, can you give us an overview of this project?
Yes, certainly can. Well, Oceanside Transit Center, as you said, is very busy. 4 rail services use that station every day and a number of bus routes as well. This project adds another platform and track at the station, and it does a couple of things. It helps an existing problem. It's a bit congested there during peak times with trains, so it'll help alleviate that, faster boarding for passengers, that sort of thing. And along with other projects we have on the rail corridor, will really set us up to add more service in the future.
What will it do to the average commute time, for example, for someone going from Oceanside to San Diego? Will there be any change?
Will not be measurable change in terms of travel time,
okay,
but your reliability, your chances of getting to and from San Diego will be more reliable, more on time. Your boarding process could be quicker at Oceanside, so it'd be really the specific benefits to the transit center.
I think the thing is, it might not be faster, but there might be more trains, right? And
Correct.
At the moment, there's a lot of trains right at, when you want to get to work or come back, but there's a big period in the middle of the day where there's hardly any trains.
Correct.
And it sounds like this platform is preparing for like almost a doubling of the number of trains coming through, right?
That's correct. Over 60 use that station today on a daily basis, either going downtown San Diego to Los Angeles, farther north, and we also have a freight line that shares the same track. So this does solve the problem we have now, but also sets us up well to add service in the future.
Is there a way to quantify what kind of potential service additions you might be able to?
Well, we have a regional plan over the next 20, 30 years, and that calls for almost a doubling of train service through the station.
Does that require double tracking in order to make that goal happen?
It does.
All the way down.
And I should say this is one of about 20 projects we have. We've either opened recently in the last 5 years, or we have in design that allows us to add a second track where there's a single track now, and that will enable us to add those trains in the future.
Okay. And as I understand, this particular project has now got money already funded, already allocated to it. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
And how big a project is this?
It's about a $24 million budget. Most of that comes from our local transportation sales tax measure. We call that Transnet. We did receive a grant from the federal government a few years ago that helped supplement that.
Okay. And when does anything start?
Construction has started at the Transit Center, started last month. And if you're a rider or you're wanting to use the station, there's going to be no disruption to train service. You'll still get your parking spot, so we're not impacting parking. What you'll see is construction fencing, you'll see construction crews. They're going to start in the northern end of the station and extend the existing platform. And then once that's open, complete and open, then they'll turn their attention to the south part of the platform, and that's when they'll begin the track work and the additional platform work.
I see.
I'm glad you mentioned parking, because that's often the rub, isn't it? And at the moment, the parking lot, because I use the coaster quite a lot, when you get there, the parking lot is almost full. So if we're going to double the number of trains, are we going to increase the amount of parking for all the people that might be using it?
Yeah, a few things will happen. I mean, that is certainly one of them. And in our long-range regional plan, always looking for funding, but there are additional parking structures at each of the coaster stations in San Diego County. But couple that with additional transit service, first and last mile connections. At the Oceanside Transit Center, we recently opened a section of the Coastal Rail Trail, so if you want to take your bike there and back. So there are different options. You don't always have to drive by yourself, but there'll be additional options, but certainly additional parking is in the plan as well.
It is, okay.
What other amenities does this plan include for the station?
This station is pretty much the additional platform and the additional track work.
Okay.
So no fancy restaurants or restrooms or anything of those sorts?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, it would be nice to have somewhere to sit down, for example. You know, when you compare our stations with those in Europe where they've had public transit for so long, it's more comfortable to be able to sit down while you're waiting and to have some cover if it is hot.
Well, the new platform will have canopies, will have lighting, will have seating, similar to what's out there on the existing platforms now.
Mm-hmm.
One of the recurring complaints from North County elected officials is that North County doesn't get its fair share of transit dollars. Is this a good example of how that may not be the case?
Well, I think this is a good example of our overall program. On the coastal rail corridor, and that our section runs from the Orange County line to downtown San Diego, we have about $1 billion program. About 2/3 of that we've identified funded. So we've opened a lot of double track recently, and we have a lot in the design stages. So that's a fairly robust program. Couple that with the freeway improvements, with the bicycle and pedestrian improvements, it's a pretty substantial multimodal program for North County.
What are you going to do about Del Mar and double tracking? Solve that one for us in the next 15 seconds.
You have 7 minutes and 25 seconds.
Tunnel.
In our long-range plan is a plan to remove the existing track from the bluffs, sensitive coastal bluffs, in a tunnel. Now, where that would be, how long that will be, all those details are still to be determined.
In our next lives, perhaps.
Yeah. So in terms of money, we've been told that double tracking the line so that we can have more trains going up and down is now becoming more important, and money will be spent on it from the half-cent sales tax, perhaps before widening some of the roads. But is this new initiative that's going to be on the November ballot with an extra sales tax, would that affect how fast the train gets developed?
It definitely would. It would largely finish with the exception of Del Mar in the tunnel and a couple of spots up in the Camp Pendleton area. It would largely double track our section of the corridor.
And without that November half-cent, would that not be completed?
It wouldn't be completed as quickly. Certainly having that local source of funds allows us to leverage and we're more attractive when we go ask for the state funds or federal funds, and that puts the whole package together. So certainly it would facilitate those improvements much quicker.
What would you argue for someone voting in Oceanside why they should vote to charge themselves an extra half-cent sales tax?
Well, I'd only say, you could look at the current transit measure, built over 650 projects in that, freeway, bus, rail, and other types of projects. So pretty good track record there on the existing half-cent sales tax. And then just to be sure you look at the details in the current measure and see the various projects, particularly in North County, that are proposed in the current measure.
Mm-hmm.
With regard to issues of other double tracking stuff, is there anything in the immediate future that is likely to happen with this rail corridor? But maybe I'm not asking this correctly. Can we as rail users anticipate that there is stuff, say, in the next 5 years, additional things that are going to be employed to try and improve the efficiency of this rail corridor?
Yes. So we are about 2/3 of the coastal rail corridor is double tracked. That will, allow additional service, particularly in the middle part of the day. Allison mentioned, you can have good service in the morning and the evening, and you need those midday service trips. So definitely that sort of capacity allows the transit agencies, the rail operators to add that type of service. There's also additional service planned from San Diego to Los Angeles on our Amtrak's Pacific Surfliner service. So you have different trips depending on what market, what needs you happen to need that particular time.
Could you give us a really sort of broad view of how is train ridership doing? Is it increasing? Is it staying steady? I'm just curious, sort of culturally, how are we doing with mass transit?
I think transit overall is on the increase nationwide, but also in San Diego. We've seen increases on our San Diego trolley system, for example. I think our coastal rail corridor is holding steady in terms of ridership, and really be interesting to see that next service bump, how that translates into ridership.
So noise, of course, is a big issue, and if the trains double, that's going to be double the train horns. Correct. Have you got any hope for people who live near the tracks?
Correct. That is a common suggestion that we have, or question that we get from the community. One of the opportunities that are available that actually the City of Oceanside is taking advantage of is called a quiet zone. And that's where there are additional gates and warning devices put at roadway crossings that will allow train horns to be minimized or possibly eliminated. So the City of Oceanside right now conducting a study There are other examples in the city of San Diego. They have implemented a quiet zone in the last few years. Orange County has done the same. So that's one opportunity for local jurisdictions to partner with North County Transit District and with us to see if that's feasible.
There's also, do we have the time?
Yeah.
There's also the question of whether, to do what Solana Beach has done and take the train down to trench it. Do you know how many cities along the coast? I think Carlsbad's considering it. I don't know, has Oceanside even thought about that as a possibility to take it out of the center of town, basically?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they've considered it at some point, and they're working on the quiet zone for now. But those types of projects, need to be studied, very cost prohibitive.
Yes.
So to be determined.
With regard to this particular transit hub and the work being done there, what's the timeline for? You said it started last month.
Yes.
When's it likely to be all finished up?
We should be finishing about this time next year.
Okay, very good. What else is in SANDAG's bag of tricks for planning and development here?
Well, in terms of coastal rail corridor, we've recently opened sections of double track in Camp Pendleton. We're working down in the city of San Diego. It all is kind of pieces of a puzzle. It all fits together and allows additional train service to happen. Not just in our area, but for folks that want to take from the transit center, take train north to Orange County or Los Angeles. They also have projects in their areas underway.
There's another element of the whole experience of riding the train, which is the buying the ticket. and I think it's not at all kind of user-friendly, the current way that the tickets are organized. Is that anything that SANDAG has much to do with, or is that MTS and the North County Transit District that would affect all that?
More of an operator. Yeah, our role in this is, one of our responsibilities is construction. We're in charge of construction of bus, trolley, and train improvements, so not so much on the operations.
We've got about a minute left. Is there anything on the freeway side of the SANDAG's role that you can tell us that's new?
We recently received a good chunk of funds for the I-5, the North Coast Corridor improvement, the next section of high occupancy vehicle lanes. So that will start this fall, as will additional double tracking and some other bicycle and pedestrian improvements.
Where would the HOV lanes be?
It will, where they end right now in the city of Encinitas, they'll be extended north.
How far with this piece?
I'm not exactly sure the mileage.
Do you know how long it'll be before it reaches Oceanside, the expanding freeway?
I do not. It really depends on a lot of things, funding being one of them.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Linda, for joining us tonight to talk about SANDAG, and thanks to SANDAG for assisting us in getting the word out to the community about these upcoming improvements. When we come back from our break, we'll be discussing homelessness in Oceanside, and one agency just down the street from KOCT Studios is working to get people food and homes.
Interfaith Community Services works to help people help themselves. Our newest project is the first year-round homeless shelter for men and women in North County. Once renovations are complete, this new shelter will house 45 men and women, each working to improve their lives and end their homelessness. Volunteers and donations are needed. All gifts will be matched dollar for dollar. Please visit our website to learn how you can help our neighbors in need.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
My name is Andrea Lee Greenberg. I walk for Autism Speaks because my son Tyler is the single most important person in my life. Walk Now for Autism Speaks raises awareness every time a city puts on a walk. It is a terrific way to come together as a community, to reach out to one another, to get the message out that these children and these adults are incredible human beings.
To find a walk near you, visit walknowforautismspeaks.org.
Watch Faith in the Common Good on KOCT. Faith in the Common Good is part of KOCT's North County Talks series. Hosted by Pastor T.S. Harris, Faith in the Common Good is a 30-minute talk show that addresses social issues from a faith-based perspective. Faith and the Common Good, only on KOCT, your community channel.
May God bless you with peace and joy.
Welcome back to Journalist Roundtable. I'm joined tonight by Allison St. John of KPBS and Logan Jenkins of San Diego Union Tribune. Our last guest is, or our final guest, is Pastor Steve Bassett, who operates the Bread of Life Rescue Mission in Oceanside. The nonprofit was formed in 1999 and serves the poor, hungry, and homeless in 6 North County cities. We've asked Pastor Bassett to give us a firsthand perspective of their services, his organization, its future plans. Throughout this interview, we'll also provide you with information on how you can help, volunteer, or donate time, money to this hardworking agency. Thank you for appearing on us, Pastor.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing and an honor to be here. Yeah.
Tell us about Bread of Life.
Well, Bread of Life, actually, we're in our 13th year at 1919 Apple Street in Oceanside. We started out pretty much doing almost everything we do now. We started out as a soup kitchen and a winter shelter for the city of Oceanside. And when we started, we found out that we had some partners in there. And after a short period of time, because we weren't able to house everybody in the wintertime every night of the week, we kind of evolved from a couple of nights a week into 7 nights a week. And 10 years ago, in fact, we're on our 10th year with the Alliance for Regional Solutions here in North County, which is a cooperative group that is a shelter network. And we're on our 10th year. And so from that point, everything changed. This partnership really grew, and we started doing a lot more. And at that point, everybody came together to make it easier to do the job. All the nonprofits around us, the services, the lifelines, all those type of services came together, and we started doing a really a great job of taking care of the homeless and the poor. And then we kind of evolved. We had a partnership with some churches. They were loaning us a van, and we were picking up food, and we decided to open a food bank. And we've had a food bank for quite a while. We did a project with the Oceanside Foundation, and we started what we call a community food distribution. And that really started out great with one grant that the San Diego Food Bank got, and it developed into, now we do 2 times a month, we do community food distributions in our parking lot. So you can see that we just have evolved and evolved. We started out with 3 suites at 1919 Apple Street, and now we've evolved to 10 suites with our pantry and everything. So it's really been on the grow. Our winter shelter now is it's a 4-month program. The cooperative we're involved in, everybody has gone year-round except for Bread of Life, and we're at a point where we're working towards getting a CPU to be able to do a year-round shelter like the rest of the shelters. So that will really change, and we're trying to change our image from being called a shelter to what we're calling bridge housing as a cooperative. So we're looking at how can we grow this, how can we develop it. So that's basically Bread of Life's story. We house now in the winter 50 people, 32 men and 18 women for a 4-month period from December 1st to March 31st. And we're hoping that it's going to be a 365, and it will grow our soup kitchen to be 7 nights a week year-round, because we'll have to feed the shelter, so the soup kitchen will be there. And our hope is that in this growth that we're going to have a lot more housing and a lot more people come around us and help us.
Do you have a way of guessing or estimating how many people you touch with services in a year? How many people you help?
Well, we've had the stats that we go through with our food banks you know, we generally, we're 8 to 10,000 families that are, families, singles, seniors, every single month that we do. And then on the food distribution, it can be anywhere from 400 to 700 people walk through our parking lot in an afternoon and take a truckload of produce and food away. So it's really amazing. I mean, you come down and see it, and see the volunteers, see all the people that come and put hands on that to help their fellow neighbor. It's really great. Gives you, that hope.
Do you get the sense that there's a kind of social deficit of empathy for the homeless, or are you encouraged by what you see?
Well, I'm encouraged by the people that help, but sometimes you get this feeling that it's like, people just, they just turn their head. One of the things that we've ran into as a cooperative, as we've evolved from the housing projects that have come down, Housing First and all this that's come down from Twinkle down to our area, and now we're involved in it, and we're finding out that our big bottleneck is getting the housing, getting the physical landlord, and then looking at what's going to be available as far as vouchers to be able to accommodate them. So both of those can be scarce, and that's the real key to us doing a better job of getting people off the streets.
What could change those two things?
Well, I'm encouraged with some of the things. Like this last weekend, I was reading about the encouragement of developers, to put in low-income housing is a biggie. I think the other part of it is if we could, the government and our communities could figure out a way to advocate for some kind of incentive for landlords, people that, own income property, like apartment complexes, that would be able to take these folks in and give them some kind of an incentive, because what they do is they weigh, what can I get? I've got a working per family here, and I can get this much rent. If I take the voucher, I'm going to get this much rent. So if they can raise that incentive to make it kind of an equal balance.
But isn't that what Section 8 housing is all about?
Well, they have a standard federal minimum. I'm thinking single, I think it's 1,016 or something like that for a single. And they can rent those apartments, some of those apartments, for $1,300, $1,400, $1,500. So you can see that the landlord's going to be, even though he has a guaranteed income, the thing is he's going to go for the more money,
I'd heard that the homeless population in Oceanside had virtually doubled in the last couple of years. Is that your experience too?
Well, we're seeing, I would say the turnaways is anywhere from 25% above more this year, turning them away from the shelter. I have seen, though, that there's I'm seeing a lot more people camping out. I'm seeing, and our numbers, again, there's kind of a controversy in the numbers because we miss a lot of the numbers, because if people get out and they're out there camping somewhere, people aren't going to walk into the woods, or out into the boondocks to see if there's anybody out there. So there's a lot that's missed, I think. And people sleeping in their vehicle. You have families sleeping in the car, or a single individual sleeping in the car, and you don't know they're there. They could be people that might go to a rest area, and sleep, or they could be somebody that's got a spot, maybe a friend's driveway. They let them park in their driveway and they spend the night.
This could be the most easily victimized group of people in the world, I would think.
Yes, sir.
And the news out of San Diego with the 4 assaults, how does that ripple through the homeless community here?
Well, it does. We've had our share through the years of even where we're at. Like, I remember, years back, I don't know, it's been a lot of years back, but there's been people that have been murdered out there, and then we have this guy that they finally caught that was, setting people on fire and things like that. And we have that. When you have communities like that, and you're just going to have a natural of things going on in the community.
For people who are watching this program right now, who say, "Gee, I'd like to help somehow," what's the single most important thing they could do for you?
Well, when I say single most important things, always, financially, we're always struggling. As a community, and even involved in the cooperative, we're looking at what can we do to raise what we're doing, because we're always at a loss when we do our winter shelter for 4 months, and the money helps us offset some salaries. We hire an extra case manager to help us out. We try to get transportation for these folks, and try to do everything we can, but we're limited by what our income is and what our donations are. We depend a lot on donations. We do go for grants, but I would say people donating is good. If they could become a regular donor, you know, like monthly, say, I'm going to set aside this much money, I'm going to send a check to Bread of Life. That helps immensely, because it shows us what we have to work with, and we can budget around that. The other thing would be somebody that's involved in the skills of grant writing and fundraising, getting involved, helping us do some fundraising in the community. That would be a biggie for us. We need more staff. We've taken on a couple of new board members that are really working hard in that area, but they need some partnership there, and so we could do a lot more with that. The other part of it is people to come out with their families, and they can even, like in the distribution in the parking lot, they can bring their kids out. The kids can hand produce out. They can really get everybody involved.
Thank you very much for coming and talking about Bread of Life, and good luck. Hope you viewers out there can find a way to help. Thank you for watching this edition of Journalist Roundtable. Don't forget you can watch or share this episode by going to koct.org, clicking on the Video on Demand button. Be informed about your community by watching Journalist Roundtable. One final note, congratulations to the entire KOCT team. We just learned that KOCT won a Hometown Media Video Award in a national competition for the Promo Watch Journalist Roundtable. The award was in the Competitive Access Center Professional category. Allison, Logan, and I are happy to be part of this award-winning team. We'll see you next month.
HBL Hair Care, healthy ingredients for healthy hair. Enhance health, reveal natural beauty, and give new life to your hair. Experience the holistic difference of HBL Hair Care.
This program was brought to you by Waste Management of North County and Oceanside. We're dedicated to serving customers and communities as a safe, comprehensive service provider, a good corporate citizen, and a responsible environmental steward. Think green, think waste management.